everybody, Brett Rice, coreVISION Financial Group, coming to you today with another episode in our series on financial topics. Today I'm joined by Andrea Lee, CFP, and we're going to talk about women in investing. It's Women's History Month, so we wanted to do a topic that focuses on women, and we felt Andrea was a great guest to talk about women. So please help me welcome Andrea to the podcast.
Hey, thanks, Brett.
Remind everybody who you are, what you do.
Well, you did. Andrea Lee, I'm a financial advisor here with coreVISION, and I am female, so that's why we chose me for this. But I thought it was interesting when we were talking about what topic we wanted to talk about, because I've done a lot of these with topics that have been relevant for females, but one we hadn't covered was just the psychology behind it and maybe the different ways that women look at investing versus men. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
From the male perspective, we don't think about the difference, right? You know, you just think what I hear and see every day is what everyone hears and sees every day, and that's not always the case.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a phenomenal topic to talk about, because we have a lot of female clients. So understanding their perspective and a lot of this stuff is great for the advisor, as well as, the people watching the video.
Well, and I think you bring a great point. Yes, we have female clients, but we also, as women, tend to inherit money more so. And so we will be affected by these decisions that we make. And many times we're doing that alone. Whether it be that we inherit money from our parents or if we have a spouse, because though our mortality rates are, I guess, getting earlier, you guys still die first. Yeah. So we typically end up...
It's all those smart choices we make.
So we tend to inherit money twice as likely, if you will. So it is. It's very important that not only we as women understand what choices we're making, but why we're making them so that we're able to do that in the best way possible.
So let's talk about just big picture. I think historically in the United States, right, women have been less involved in the financial matters of home. Over time, that's gotten significantly better. But, a lot of times we meet with clients that are older that were maybe brought up in a household where the father figure, the dad took care of all of that. And then, they may get into a situation like you just touched on to where they outlive their spouse. Now they have to manage that money.
Right. We are definitely, things are being more geared toward women now. You're right. In the past, it hasn't been that way. It's not as much as I would like it to be yet. My household's very strange because this is what I do. So in my household, I'm very involved in this. But even in our age demographic, that's not common. It's not unheard of. So I think we're getting better. And I think with younger generation even more so. But we've got some work to do. And I think that's one thing that also gives me an interesting perspective, right? Being a female advisor, I'm able to maybe relate to things in a little different way, or maybe make them feel comfortable. Because I'll be honest, I have so many female clients that make the statement, well, my husband handles that. I trust him to do that. Great, you should. I'm glad you do. But that doesn't mean that you don't need to understand it for yourself. Right?
I mean, I would think most of us have had a situation where the husband passes and then the wife brings us the death box and says, I need you to help me figure all this stuff out.
Right. And we've talked about this. That experience in general is extremely stressful and just
very
emotional, right?
Yeah.
So it's just better if these topics are something that you're comfortable with prior to having to do that also while you're dealing with all of that emotion and stress of the passing.
Right, for sure, 100%. A lot of times when you sit in a meeting with the husband and wife, you may be talking about one person's IRA, right? But it's like, I'm talking to both of you because you both need to know this.
Right. When you're married, you're one entity.
Yeah. You're the beneficiary of this. You need to be informed up to a point that says, oh yeah, I understand. I've met with you a bunch of times.
And I feel comfortable with
Yes.
you, and I know you, and this isn't the first time that I've met you, and now I have to trust that you're going to do the best for me, right? I mean, if I could, I guess, in one way, if you are a male who has a spouse that is female or male and is not interested in finances, do them a favor and get them involved. Because in the event that something passes, and this goes both ways, like I could do a better job with my husband probably and making sure that he's aware of everything. So it does go both ways, but encouraging your spouse to be involved in those planning topics and those meetings so that in the event something happens, they're comfortable and they feel qualified. That's a horrible word to use.
Well, it's probably more educated.
Yes, thank you.
A lot of times we're intimidated by the things we don't understand.
Everybody is.
Right. So, over time, you're sitting in those meetings, ask a few questions, just kind of, hey, I want to learn a little bit about this. I had a client meeting earlier this week with a woman, and she had told me of her life experience that she had to go to a money class and had somebody, explain all this stuff to her, and she was like, it was basically life-changing.
Yeah.
She said she left that class feeling like I really understood now what I needed to do to manage my money. And we're not even necessarily talking about investments. We're just talking about, hey, savings, how you pay your bills, how credit cards work, how mortgage loans work, understanding all of that stuff.
This is not rocket science.
It is not.
It's not. Sometimes, no offense, I do feel like there are men in our lives that want to feel super smart, and so they like to use terms like they're super important. I mean that with the kindest love possible.
You're not talking about me.
I'm not. But because I think you get it, and I think that you want all the ladies in your life to fully feel comfortable in this space. Sure. So I don't think that about you, but I do think that there are those people that exist, and it's just not that. It's just not. It doesn't have to be. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. So yeah, I think that just making the space a more comfortable one is important.
Yeah. So how do we overcome that confidence gap and that lack? I'm going to say the lack of education, but starting small and just saying, one of my biggest frustrations with things is people are like, oh, I don't understand this, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, how much time have you spent trying to figure it out? And they're like, 0.
Right. So you shouldn't understand it, right? And that's okay. Like, don't assume that because you don't know something, everyone else in that room does. They probably don't either. Right. Or they could probably use an explanation, right? So ask those questions.
And the thing is a lot of times people hear it from other people. It's the telephone game, right?
Right.
And by the time you hear it, it could be far from the truth.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying we're the only source of this information in the
Not at
world.
all.
Don't take that way. There's just an absolute, mountain of information on the internet that as long as you're using reliable sources and, check multiple sources.
We are not tax experts, right? So when we get into that space, we may assume or have some experience, but we're still going to tell you, confirm this with your tax professional,
100%.
right? Because you got to stay in your lane.
Right.
But I do think, kind of going back to what you said, how do we change this? One thing that I think is definitely different between genders, women aren't taught, if you will, to talk about money. Marketing strategies, magazines that we have, television, all those ads aren't geared,
right?
Or the financial topic ads, the mutual fund ads, and the ETF ads, and all of those are not geared toward women. They're always men in their cigar room or with their cars or whatever men typically are interested in. That's where they gear those ads. And so it has taught us as women, even at a young age, oh, this isn't for you. Do I think that was their purpose? Not at all. Do I think that has happened? Yeah, I do. Do I think we can change it? And I think we are. Absolutely. That's why we do things like this, right?
You're sitting there talking about that, and you think about it. If you think about the TV marketing and stuff that you're just talking about, you're like, that's true. you don't see an ad for mutual fund family or investment firms or stuff like that in those magazines, or it's just like, well, why is that? I would think that's how you get into that space, is you would say, hey, let's start advertising in these women-focused magazines.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess, again, not my perspective, so I've never thought about it before.
Right. Again, it is getting better, but it's interesting if you pay attention. It is interesting to see those things. But yeah, so we've been taught just that, that's not your thing. So it's not a comfortable space for us. It's not something that we maybe, like I said, grew up thinking, oh, you need to know this. Now I'm going to tell you, my situation was absolutely different, right? My family of girls and my dad wanted us to understand things. He didn't have a boy to teach, and maybe that's why, but it was important that we understood finance and stock. And even in high school, those were conversations that he had with me. I didn't necessarily enjoy them at that time, but I don't know that any 16-year-old would really
Probably not.
Right? So, but I knew it was important. I think if nothing else, what I learned from that is these are things that are important, and at some point in my life, I need to know these. I think that did me a wonderful service because that wasn't a scary space for me.
Well, at that age, you weren't intimidated by it because you didn't know anything about it. You're
Right.
just like, oh no, this is, my dad talking to me about this.
The other thing, kind of going back to like the comfort level, I mean, this is a perfect example. I'm a rarity, right? We have one female advisor in our office and we have 7 advisors. So it's just not a field yet that women seem to migrate toward. Again, I feel like that's unfortunate because I think we're in a space where we can relate maybe to our clients in a little different way because we're both women, so we share that.
Sure.
So I would like to see that change. I'm always wanting young ladies to come in and do some sort of mentorship or internship type things. Always interested in that because I think I'm a nerd, I love math, but I get to do it every day. And I can't be the only girl that likes
all
math.
the math you want to do, right?
Yeah, I can't be the only girl that likes math.
So let's talk about other obstacles or roadblocks for women, getting, I'll say, financially focused. Let's talk about the emotional barriers.
So I found this quite interesting because as we were looking and just kind of educating ourselves, the emotional barriers that continued to come up were fear, guilt, and perfectionism. Fear I got, right? Everybody, no matter your gender, if you don't know something about that topic, you're scared of it until you've educated yourself.
Right.
So that one totally makes sense to me. Guilt and perfectionism. Guilt was hard for me. In fact, I went into Brett's office and I'm like, can you explain this to me? Like, why would anyone feel guilty saving money? Again, I was raised to where you pay yourself first, this is what you do, and that's just how I was taught. So Brett helps me out, does a little research, and he says that it's very common for women to feel guilty spending money on themselves, i.e. saving for their retirement, and not on their family members. Light bulb moment.
Yeah.
Okay, this makes sense, right? We are also, as women, nurturers, right? We are designed to take care of other people. And so that makes total sense.
Yeah.
We're always putting others before, you're typically the one that's making sure everyone's fed. And that's just kind of how we are designed, is to think about other people and take care of them. So why would our finances be any different? Now, I will tell you, saving for yourself is also helping take care of other people, because if you're self-sufficient, then nobody has to take care of you, which is helpful, right? There are always avenues also or ways to look at things to realize that's really not a selfish approach, right? Saving for yourself is not selfish.
And when we had that discussion, and I looked it up, that wasn't my perspective, so I was like, I don't get the guilt. When you came in there, I was like, I don't know. And when you look it up, then you're like, oh no, that totally makes sense. As somebody that's, like you said, nurturing, caring, taking care of their family, hey, all of a sudden I'm putting these resources towards myself, you feel guilt.
Right. Absolutely. So yeah, totally made sense. And then with perfectionism, I almost feel like that one is somewhat also related to fear, right? You don't want to make the wrong decision.
Right.
As roles are starting to change, like I mentioned that women tend to be the ones that, make everyone's set. My household is not that way. That's my husband, thankfully. But, I also have a sense of providing for my family. That's a part that traditionally in history has been more of a male role. That is changing. And so there's also that perfectionism. Like if I mess up, I don't only mess up for me, I mess up for my family. Right? So there's a higher weight on that for women now than maybe in the past.
And I always, from a long time ago, previous careers, talk about paralysis by analysis.
Yep.
At some point you have to be like, okay, I've done all the research I need to do.
Right.
Now I just need to make the decision.
But I will say, I think those decisions get so much easier the more educated yourself, right? Like the market isn't so scary when you look at its track record. Yep. In the short term, absolutely, it's a roller coaster. But in the long term, that's where you want to be if you want the most return. Now, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. If I did, I really like you, but I would not be working here. I would be on a beach, doing my own finances and killing it. But historically, if we go back with that, that's what makes sense. So, but I wouldn't have known that if I didn't educate myself. And that's why I'm comfortable in that space.
Right. And like most things, even if it's going to buy a car, buying a house, whatever, you have to educate yourself. You just got to get into the mud and say, hey, what's all the details in here? Okay, now I understand it. What's the best decision?
Right. And a lot of times it's easy once you do the research.
Yep.
Where you and I come into that is, we help you get the tools to do that, right? If you have questions, like we're going to help you with the resources and answer those questions and hold your hand along the way, because we don't want you to make a decision you're not comfortable with. Absolutely not.
And a lot of times when we sit down with clients, we're like, hey, our job is to provide you with your options, help educate you, and your money, you're the owner of the team, you make the decision. We're here to assist you in that.
Right.
I think along the lines of this is working with a financial professional, helps ease your mind a little bit on some of those decisions. Okay, so the research I did matches what they say.
Sure, and I'm confident in the decision that I'm making. That's where we want you ultimately, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't want a job where I'm just barking out orders to clients and saying this is what you should do, this is what you should do, with no feedback. Like I want people to take ownership. Oddly enough, my degree's in exercise science, so at least a large portion of my life I have coached people through fitness, whatever their goals. Now I coach people through their financial goals. That's what I like to do. Now I just get to do it with numbers.
So let's talk about women's strengths in investing. We've kind of said, hey, these are the roadblocks to it. This is why women haven't done it, all this stuff. Let's talk about what the strengths are for women.
So ironically, women may not have the self-confidence in this space. However, we tend to maybe be a little better at it. So one reason is because we tend to be more disciplined. Like for us, we do a risk profile and we talk about goals and we get all this information, right? And then we take all that information and we create a plan. And those are what give us the steps to work toward that goal. So typically, women stay on track and they're like, stick to the plan. This is what I'm supposed to do. I don't know why, but you guys tend to be a little more rogue in that space.
Well, it's because we think we're smarter than everybody else in the room, right? As men in general, we're like, yeah, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
So from that aspect, that's a strength for us. We also tend to be long-term investors. Like we spoke, in the short term, the market is a roller coaster, but long-term, it has traveled up. So that long-term time horizon is in our favor. So that helps.
See, research-driven decisions, women tend to make thoughtful, informed choices. Saying men don't make thoughtful, informed decisions.
I'm not saying ChatGPT. No, I think that when women get into this space, right? Like, so you finally are like, yes, I'm gonna take it by the reins, and you're gonna do your research. And I don't know why we tend to be more focused in that space, but we do. And again, that's our advantage because we're getting the tools in place, we're getting the data, we're doing the research to make sure that the decisions that are being made are what's right for us. What's right for you is not gonna be what's right for me, correct?
Correct.
We are, each household is different, each situation is different. And so that also may be what's somewhat intimidating because what's for Susie next door, that's what I should do. Well, maybe not. Maybe not.
And we deal with that frequently.
That's what makes our job fun. Every single client is different, so it's not boring.
Yeah, and when you talk to people about that, you're like, no, everyone's situation is unique. Your neighbor doesn't have all the exact same things going on in their life that you do.
Right.
And people are like, oh, okay, I didn't think about that. It's like, are you willing to take on all that risk that they are? Well, they can do that because they have blah, 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 blah,
right.
blah. Well, you don't have those same parameters. So it's not as...
Yeah, and you might both be young, married, new kids, both working. Like, you may look like the same household. You're not.
Yeah.
You're definitely not.
So let's talk about practical steps to start investing for women.
I mean, this is really for anybody.
Right. Right. But it's women's history.
Right.
Herstory.
We just like to have a lady do it so that it's a safe space. Is that it? Okay, so just like we talked, we do that plan, right? So where do we want to go? We can't get on the road if we don't know where we're going to go, right? So we got to get a plan for those financial goals. We got to figure out what those goals are. So is that retirement? Is that owning your home? Is it just being financially independent and not having to worry about anybody else? Whatever that may be. And it could be all of those. So what are your goals? Once we know where we're going, what are we going to take? What's your investment vehicle? Are you a stock investor? Some people are. Some people, that is a scary space.
Right. Like you talk about, if you don't know where you're going, we don't know how much gas to buy to get there.
Right.
So, how much do we have to save? What type of return do we need to get? All of these type of things.
Right.
What tax treatment do we want on these? You start getting at that. Then you start getting into, okay, now you start putting these parameters on it, and some of this is going to sort itself out.
Right. And so we're looking at, maybe your new investor is more comfortable in a mutual fund or an ETF space because that's like a bucket. Maybe you're a little more experienced and you really love this company and that's where
Sure.
It's everybody's different. So again, that's where we go with that. Are we saving for retirement? Well, if so, we probably want to have a retirement account, right? That would make sense. So yeah, we just kind of then look at what makes sense for those goals, and then we start that process. So we've now defined the goals. We've figured out what tools we're gonna do. Now we got to implement them. So we're gonna start saving money, maybe.
And we're gonna simplify it by automating it.
Absolutely. That's easier for everyone, and it's interesting, and I appreciate it when we have clients call that may, life happens. Absolutely, life happens. And so they may need to adjust one of their automatic contributions and pull it back for a month. It's like when they call you, they think you're going to be so disappointed.
Sure.
I appreciate it wholeheartely because that means they've taken ownership of their goal, right? Like they're invested in this, they want to be a part of it. But life happens. So those things happen. That. Absolutely. And as that wealth grows, then we need to diversify it. So, we may start out with one mutual fund, but as that account grows, we need to branch that out, right? And so that maybe puts a bit of a safeguard on our savings or our goal setting, whatever. So we work towards that. And then that's where we just kind of keep monitoring and as life changes, your financial plan lives and breathes just like you do. And so life changes, life happens. That's okay. We plan for that.
New kid, new house, new job. All of those things are going to
No job. There are all kinds of things that happen. And so that's why we we plan for that. And then it's not a big hiccup, horrible moment, because we're okay. We knew this could happen. We prepared for it. So.
Yeah, good talk.
Yeah, so.
I mean, I'm all energized now. I wish there was a meeting right after this to go right into.
So if I could just say one thing in closing, ladies, get started. It's never too soon, and it's never too late. That's the other thing. Like, don't be like, oh, I haven't done this. It's not worth it. No, it is. It's absolutely worth it. Today's the day. And absolutely find a coach. Get with a professional that you trust. That's what's most important. You've got to trust this person because they
interview advisors.
Absolutely.
Don't just choose one
because your buddy likes them, right? You got to feel comfortable in that space.
For sure.
So get with that and get started.
Yeah, good talk. No, it's a great topic. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and talking about it. Everybody, thanks for joining us today. Brett Rice, Andrea Lee, coreVISION Financial Group. Hey, just to let everybody know, these podcasts are now available on audio-only form on all major podcast networks. So if you don't really want to see me on these every month, you can listen to me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of those. So go out there, download it, listen to us while you're in the car. We really appreciate it. Again, thanks for your time. Contact information's at the end. Please feel free to reach out. Thanks for joining us.